I was walking to my cell one day and someone asked me, the next door cellie right next door to me asked me if I wanted to read the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants and Pearl of Great Price. And it's actually this exact book. And I looked at it and all I could see was the gold writing on it. So I thought to myself, they must go hand in hand. And little did I find out later on that they did go hand in hand, But I just remember I read the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants and Pearl of Great Price in about 11 days. Here I am, straight out of prison, and members of the church are inviting me over, and they're business owners and doctors and dentists, and they're inviting me over with their families and their extended families for Thanksgiving dinner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of If You Could Hide to Kolob podcast. My name is Clive, and this is my brother Daniel.
Good morning. A couple of weeks ago, a video came across my social media of a man, and I was just inspired by this amazing conversion story. And seriously, within 10 seconds, I just had this idea. I really want to talk to this person. So we're interviewing today a man by the name of Michael Germain Mansfield. Welcome to the podcast, mate. It's great to have you.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What were you like as a younger man where did you grow up? What was life like for you? Maybe if you can give us some of those insights.
I was a good kid growing up, played sports, played basketball, baseball, and football. And my dad ended up moving to Washington State when I was about 11 or 12 years old. My mom was working a lot, and so I was always with like a caretaker. And so I had a lot of freedom, as a kid. And like I said, I was a good kid. I made good grades. And then when things started getting kind of rough for me during middle school.
So what happened in middle school that sort of pushed you to that? Was it peer pressure? Was it bullying? What was the situation there?
I mean, so there was a group of us friends, and we played sports together, and their parents smoked cigarettes. And so we'd go start stealing the parents' cigarettes, and I remember then after school, there was a pool hall right down the road from the middle school I was going to. And I remember the first time I was smoking a cigarette behind the pool hall, and a police officer drove by and saw me, saw a group of us. And I ran back inside the pool hall and sat down, and the police officer came in and grabbed me, and he called my dad. And that was like the first time I had like a run-in with the police officer, for smoking cigarettes at 13 years old, and so it just started off as, a group of us kids just, stealing cigarettes and smoking cigarettes. And then, one of my friends had older brothers and they smoked weed. And so, it wasn't definitely no peer pressure. It was just like drinking and smoking marijuana at like 14 and 15 years old, and then, we're in high school, and that's when, started using cocaine at 16. And then, from 16 to 33, I was addicted to methamphetamines. So it was like, there was nothing that, I would say led me down the path and lifestyle that I lived. My parents, they didn't, there was no drugs or, in the house or anything like that. So it was like, I made all the decisions, that led me down that path.
Do you think kids nowadays, what chance do they have of trying to avoid these things? Like how hard it must be even now, 20 years later or more, of like what kids are going through now, how much even more prevalent all of that is now.
People can watch, people using drugs or, smoking weed just in music videos, drinking and, music videos. And so it's like everything has progressed so much faster. And I can only imagine, it seemed like, there was quite a few people that weren't indulging in the things that I was indulging in middle school and high school. But I'm sure it's there, I'm sure it's there. I'm sure it's there even more now. I remember growing up, there would be kids that were like getting in trouble at a younger age, and then something would happen and they would kind of turn their life around during high school and, not get into so much trouble. And I remember before I started using methamphetamines, one of my good friends, his older brother used meth. And, at the time we were just smoking and drinking, but I just remember telling him, I'm like, man, your older brother used methamphetamines. That's crazy. I could never imagine doing that. And
Wow.
within a year, less than 2 years from then, I was a full, addicted to meth, smoking meth every day.
Was it easy to come by those things like the meth and weed? Was it really because you already, I guess you said someone's older brother was using it.
Some friends' older brothers that are 2 or 3 years older, so they're already more experienced in, smoking marijuana and drinking and stuff. And so you hang out with your friends and their older brothers are doing this stuff. So it was just like it kind of one thing just led into another. And I was definitely not peer pressured into it at all. It was just a group of us kind of just experimenting, and then things just really progressed fast.
So let's go back. So you said that the police caught you the first time smoking behind the pool hall. At what stage after that did the police get involved in your life a bit more frequently?
I was in a really dysfunctional relationship. I had a girlfriend. I was, using meth every day, and got into domestic violence with her. And so the cops got called. I got arrested and went to jail for domestic violence. I got out of jail, and then there was a no contact order where I'm not allowed to be around her. And of course, we were together. And then her mom called the police on me, and they came and arrested me, and they searched my car and found meth in my car, found a meth pipe in my car. Then I went back to jail. And so that was like the start of my run-ins with the law. And I would say this is in 2004. So I was about 19 or 20 when, things really, when I started having run-ins with the law, and then of course, when you get when you get arrested for drugs, then you have to go in and you have to take a urine analysis. And so you have to go into the courts, take a UA, and if you're dirty for drugs, they can, put you in jail until you're done with your court. And so then I would, be dirty, and I would go on the run, and then I would get picked up later on down the road for maybe another no contact order violation.
Did you genuinely think that you would change, or was it just more you tell people that you change? Or did you think, what, this is the last time I'm going to jail. Next time it'll be different?
When you first go to jail, you tell yourself, oh, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore right at the moment, but I think there was one time there was a moment where I was like, okay, I'm not going to use drugs anymore. And I remember I was doing a drug treatment program in jail, and it's you do time in jail, then you do work release where you get a job and you get to go to work, and then you get to do part of it at home on electric home monitoring. And I remember when I was in the jail, I was working in the kitchen, and I told myself, you know what, I'm going to get sober, Michael. And then I got to work release, and you get a little bit more, you get that freedom, and you're going to work and everything. And then it's like, oh, okay. And by the time I got to the electrical monitoring, I was figuring out a way to call one of my girlfriends to get some drugs and meet me at my, come to my house and get high together. So it was just like
just a vicious cycle.
It's and it's really, really hard to get out of when you're in a community, and ultimately that I started at such a young age. That's really all I knew, as an adult, is that lifestyle.
So let's talk about just this incredible moment where you're in prison or you're in jail for the last time, and this moment where someone hands you a Bible. Can you give us a little bit of a background on how you ended up coming across that Bible, or what it was that got you to say, hey, I want to read something while I'm here, I'm so bored?
Okay, so as soon as I got to prison, I went to a church service. It wasn't LDS, and I was given a King James Bible. And I went back to my cell and read the King James Bible from front to back in about 3 weeks. And then in early January of 2018, I was walking to my cell one day, and someone asked me, the next door cellie right next door to me asked me if I wanted to read the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price. And it's actually this exact book. And I looked at it, and all I could see was the gold writing on it. So I thought to myself, they must go hand in hand. And little did I find out later on that they did go hand in hand, But I just remember I read the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price in about 11 days. But I just remember reading about Alma the Younger and the sons of Mosiah living in sin and iniquity, being visited by an angel of the Lord, them repenting of their sins, them being reborn and becoming an instrument in the hands of God. And I just remembered that it gave me so much hope and inspiration that I could change my life. Now these scriptures, when I'm sitting in this 6x10 prison cell, I'm filled with the feeling I'd never experienced in my whole life. I was filled with so much peace, love, joy, and happiness. And I remember calling my mom from prison, and I said, "Mom, when I get out of prison, I'm going to become a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." And she said, "Michael, what are you talking about?" Because how many times have I called from jail, rehab, that I was going to change my life, but this time it was something different. And when I was in prison, what I did is, as soon as I read the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, and Pearl of Great Price for the first time, I started reading a chapter in the morning and a chapter in the evening. And it's something I continue to do to this day. And what it did is it started, it planted a seed in my heart. Reading the scriptures planted a seed in my heart, and I just started nourishing that seed by reading my scriptures every day. I was ready to follow Jesus Christ, and nothing can take that feeling of that comfort and peace and joy and happiness from reading the scriptures in that prison cell. And that's where it was like it contradicted itself. How could I be sitting in a prison cell in the pits of hell and be filled with this feeling I'd never experienced in my whole life by reading the scriptures? That's how I knew that the gospel was the truth. That's how I knew that the Book of Mormon was the truth. And that's what really started the repentance process. That's when it clicked in my head. Ooh, Satan's had control over my life through all my addictions. I didn't realize that before. And that's when I made the decision that, you know what? I'm ready to walk in a whole new way of life. And that was really the start of this miraculous conversion. That was, in December, it'll be 7 years that I walked into prison, 7 years ago.
You talk about helping other people. So when you got out of prison, did your first thought go, well, I need to speak to my mum about this, or I need to find missionaries? Like, what was your...
So I got out of prison, and of course I started taking lessons with the sister missionaries.
Did you find them? How did you come across the sisters?
Well, I got out of prison and went to church.
Oh, so you literally got out of prison, just went, where's the closest ward?
Yeah. As soon as I got out of prison, that's when I started going to the addiction recovery program. And I remember I got out of prison on a Tuesday and went to my first addiction recovery program meeting. And I go into this meeting, and I'm sitting in a room with doctors and lawyers and dentists and police officers. I never knew anybody like that. And guess what? I sat down, told them my story that I just gotten out of prison, put everything on the table, and they showed me so much love and kindness. And that's when I realized that no matter what walk of life you come from, we all have one thing in common, and that's Jesus Christ. And their kindness that I felt at the addiction recovery program, the same kindness that I felt when I started attending church, played a pivotal point in me, following through, and coming to the church, and I just remember I couldn't be baptized right away. I was ready to be baptized as soon as I got out of prison, because after reading the scriptures, I knew. And what happened is when that seed got planted in my heart in that prison cell, I just kept reading the scriptures, and it just kept nourishing that seed. And I just started getting momentum. And, I get out of prison and the addiction recovery program, the elders quorum president, we became really good friends. I was later baptized April 6th of 2019. And what a great, glorious day to be baptized on Christ's birthday and the 189th anniversary of the church being organized.
When you walked in the building for the first time, we're talking a lot at the moment. The brethren are talking a lot at the moment about ministering and ministering to the one and people feeling welcome at church. When you first walked in, what was it like after all this time? You've got to the church after reading it in prison and calling, and then finally you walked in. Did you feel home? Did you feel like the elders quorum president, was he waiting for you? What was that church experience like?
I went and sat down. I had my scriptures like this, just like this. I went and sat down, and he sat down and befriended me and asked me who I was. And I told him. And we just developed a relationship right there. And the love and kindness that I felt there is the same love and kindness I felt in my first addiction recovery program meeting, the same love and kindness that I felt, when I decided to go to BYU, Idaho, the same love and kindness that I felt in South Carolina last summer, and the same love and kindness that I felt here in Arizona. the same love and kindness that I feel when I talked to you guys for the very first time last week, the same love and kindness. It's just, it's, it's genuine, it's genuine, and no one's ever judged me. No one's ever judged me. And I've been able to put all this on the table. And that's, this is what, putting everything on the table for me, everybody's different, but for me to be able to put everything on the table and say, you know what, I'm ready to walk in a whole new way of life, and to have the people there support me. Families are inviting me over to their house for Thanksgiving. Here I am, straight out of prison, and members of the church are inviting me over, and they're business owners and doctors and dentists, and they're inviting me over with their families and their extended families for Thanksgiving dinner. For the average person, that might not be a big deal. But for me, that kindness meant everything. That kindness and love from everybody meant everything to me. And not to be judged, oh man. But it's the same love and kindness that I felt everywhere. And people have allowed me just to share my story. And it means so much to me. And while I was going through the trials and tribulations, I had no idea that all my weaknesses could be turned into strengths. And then all those strengths turned into talents. I had this major conversion to the church, to the gospel, and my mom was there for my baptism when I was baptized in 2019. But my mom started building a testimony for herself. But you know what it all started with? The love and kindness from everybody in the church. And after 6 months of those sister missionaries coming every week, my mom was ready to be baptized. And so I was ordained to the Melchizedek priesthood, and then baptized and confirmed my mom into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, October of 2020.
That's amazing. Yeah. The fact that you got to baptize your mom, I mean, that must have been just a high point in your life, I could imagine.
Yes, and I mentioned some of the things I read to you, how when I was in my active addiction, how I used to treat my mom, and so it's so interesting how you have a dysfunctional relationship with your mom for so many years while I'm battling addictions. And then I come to the gospel, and now me and my mom, we're the best of friends. She's my companion in the gospel of Jesus Christ.
And I know, we're connected on social media, and I know the love you've got for your mum. You spend so much time together going through church historical sites, and just spending time with each other, building each other's testimonies, and just sharing those amazing experiences in the gospel together must just be the greatest.
It's absolutely amazing. This last summer, we got to visit Washington, D.C., which was really cool, and go to the temple there. But then we went to Palmyra, New York. We got to go to the Hill Cumorah. We got to go to the Sacred Grove. And from there, we got to go see where the Book of Mormon was printed. The first copies of the Book of Mormon was printed. And I have, a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ to the fullest. But going on this church history journey from Palmyra to Kirtland, Ohio, to see all the persecution that Joseph Smith and those saints had to deal with.
Hearing your testimony, just I feel the Spirit so strong. Just everything about you just radiates the gospel, and it's just incredible. And we're so grateful that we've had this opportunity to speak to you.
I'm honored to be on here, and I just love you guys from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. We appreciate everyone listening to If You Could Hide to Kolob podcast, and we'll see you again. Thank you.